blessed name, the maintenance of true religion, the preservation of justice, the safety, honor, and happiness of the President, the peace and prosperity of Guyana. Grant us, O God, the vision so to lead, that all the people of this fair land may enter into that state of brotherhood and unity, where the mind is led forward by thee, with the ever-widening thought and action.
Thank you, honorable members. Please be seated.
Messages from the President. Announcements by the Speaker.
Honorable members, our apologies for the delayed start today. There was an electrical issue with one of the panels powering the central air conditioning. The alertness of the staff of the National Arthur Chung Convention Center was able to detect that damage, and they worked feverishly over the past 2 hours to ensure that they could have it working again. I assure you everything is safe, and we have put the standby emergency operations in place, but it's very safe now. And I know quite a few of our members have been having some sniffles. If we want, just stay online. I'll share the link again with you. If you don't want to be in the dome, you can still be around, but stay online so that we can have your full participation, especially when needed. Mr. Clerk? Sorry, Sherlock, let me welcome the students and teachers of Soesdijk Secondary. They're from 4 students, and to tell these kids again, what you're going to witness today is the members of parliament scrutinizing the budget line by line. So they'll ask questions of the minister, why this amount of money, what's spent for, what happened last year, and so forth. So that is the process you're going to be observing this morning. Mr. Clerk?
Presentation of petitions, presentation of papers and reports, etc. Reports from committees. Oral questions without notice. Questions on notice. Statements by ministers, including policy statements. Personal explanations. Requests for leave to move the adjournment of the National Assembly on definite matters of urgent public importance. Motions relating to the sittings of the Assembly and moved by minister. Reduction of bills. Public business. Government's business.
Honorable members, we will resolve ourselves into committee supply to continue consideration of the estimates. Honorable members, we are now in committee, and I invite the Honorable Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, the Honorable Minister Sonia Parag and her team, to join us in the well, and I invite you to turn to pages 112 and 130. Honorable members, I now propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 13, Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development, Program 131, Policy Development and Administration current expenditure stands part of the estimates. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipo.
Thank you, Comrade Chairman. Comrade Chairman, permit me to join with you in welcoming the students from Soesdijk Secondary School to witness this deliberation on the estimates of 2024. Comrade Speaker, when we look at volume 2 of the estimates for this particular program, it is guiding us that 100% of the budgetary allocation for 2023 has been expended. However, guidance from volume 1 is showing $337,049,000 being spent from an allocation of $376,432,000, a difference of $39,383,000. Can the Honorable Minister please provide a clarity on this?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, just 1 minute. So while we would have fulfilled the mandate as for the ministry's policy and program of last year, there was some on transportation that was sent back, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipal.
Thank you, sir. So it is established, sir, that there wasn't a 100% budgetary allocation spent. In fact, it was 89.5% of the budgetary allocation from which is 337 million of the allotted $376 million. So in keeping with the Honorable Minister's answers that they fulfilled the mandate of the ministry, I again turn my attention to volume 2 of the estimates. So in 2021, we approved for this program $324 million. In 2022, we approved $356 million. And in 2023, we approved $376 million. So here in 2024, we're being asked to approve $402,151,000. Guided by the indicators of volume 2, which is very similar to what it was last year, and from 2021 and 2022, the mandate of the ministry was to ensure that we have a local government sector strategy, a local government data infrastructure, a Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development strategy plan, a sanitation sector plan, and the establishment of the monitoring and evaluation framework. So after spending $1.057 billion, none of these were accomplished. Can the Honorable Minister say why they were not accomplished, and what guarantee can she provide to this Honorable House that with the approval of this $402 million, they will be accomplished this year?
Honorable Minister.
Right. So this was a program that was discontinued, a CDB project that was discontinued. Now, the sum that was left for logistics was a very marginal amount. And this year, we want to be able to continue that program. So you will see this money allotted being used for that.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipal.
Thank you very much, Comrade Speaker. I'm happy to hear that we will see a local government sector strategy and the other indicators in volume 2 of the estimates. So may I turn your attention to line item 6116, contracted employees. Sir, I recognize that there's an increase from 26 to 27. May I ask the Honorable Minister, what is the position for this one that we're catering?
Honorable Member, as you would know, and Mr. Speaker, just permit me to stand. There was an appointment of a legal assistant as of May 2023. And you would also appreciate that the line item would have increased because of the 6.5 salary increase.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Maipol.
Thank you very much, Comrade Speaker. Sir, I did take into consideration the 6.5% increase to the $93,777,000. And when I subtract that figure from the 109.261 that is there now, the $109,261,000, so we get a revised figure of $9.384 million that will cater for the 12 months period. Can the Honorable Minister say if this is the figure that is going to be associated as salary and benefits to this legal assistant?
Honorable Minister.
Well, Honorable Member, now you started off by saying, and Mr. Speaker, through you, started off by saying you did your own maths and so on. I mean, that's concerning to me even. But just to say that this does not include only the legal assistant. The figure does not include only the legal assistant.
Thank you very much, Minister. Honorable Member.
So let me see if I can break it down simpler for the Honorable Minister to understand and comprehend. Sir, the $93.777 million catered for 26 employees. When you add the 6.5% to that, and you minus it from the 109,261,000, which caters for the 27 employees, the difference that you will get is a total of $9,384,000, which is the annual sum in terms of difference. Is that the salary for the legal assistants? Or simpler, sir, what is the monthly salary and benefits for the legal assistant?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Member, just so I can break it down and make it simpler for you, when you did all your mathematics there just now, and you took that out, we have the salary for the legal assistant as well as the allowance and benefits. I beg your pardon? Well, you know, Honorable Member, you're so good at doing math, I'm pretty sure you can dissect it.
Honorable Member, Mr. Maipol.
Sir, perhaps the Honorable Minister did not hear the latter part of the question. Can she provide the monthly salary and benefits of the legal assistant?
Honorable Minister.
The salary is $319,500.
Thank you very much, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipal, just my observation that you ask your question, and this has happened consistently. And as the person responds, you also do your own little off-the-record heckle, and that interrupts the person and interrupts me also. So if you ask a question, give them a chance. I don't mind you, responding in your mind, but don't let your mind come out too loudly through your mouth.
Thank you, sir. Always respect your guidance. Comrade Speaker, can we turn our attention to line item 6284, where we see an increase from $9,010,000 to $16,826,000. Could the Honorable Minister please say what this increase would cater for?
Honorable Minister.
So for other, we have an increase of 6.8 million over 2023 appropriation. This provision caters to the public notices, advertisements, procurement of software and other software, domain renewal identification cards, etc.
Thank you, Minister. And Minister, you can sit and respond. Just pull the mic. That will help you with the volume. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Program 131, Policy Development and Administration Current Expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Please join me as I turn to page 114 and 115. And I propose a question that the sum stated for program 133, regional development, current expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipal.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I turn your attention to line item 6116. An additional staff is added to this line from 1 to 2. Can the Honorable Minister say what is the position and the salaries and benefits of that position?
Honorable Minister.
Well, honorable members, you know, we're always committed to ensuring that the ministry is staffed in a way that it can function well. And so there was the appointment of an engineer as of April 2023.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipal.
Sir, may I remind the Honorable Minister that I also asked for the salary and benefits?
Honorable Minister.
The salary is that of an engineer, which is like those at Public Works, etc.
Comrade
Minister.
Chairman, I don't know what is the salary of.
Go ahead.
I don't know what is the salary of the engineers at Public Service or Public Works. Would the Honorable Minister be kind enough to provide the figure?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I find that very difficult as the honorable member seems to know a lot about everything else. But the engineer's salary is 276,881.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipal.
Sir, I turn your attention to line item 6281, security services. So there is a heavy increase here from 8,733,000 to $28,536,000. And the Honorable Minister say what has caused this massive increase?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I don't believe an increase, whether massive or minor, is very uncommon, given that in 2015 to 2019, we also had massive increases, especially in the years from 2017 to 2018. However, it is due to rates and locations.
Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipal.
Sir, the Honorable Minister was kind enough to say that it caters for rate and location. Is there or are there other locations that is considered here that was not considered in 2023?
Honorable Minister.
So in this particular one, it was the rates and the increase of personnel for the security service.
Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipal.
Sir, if we're increasing the personnel, and we know that last year we approved for a 24-hour basis for every location to have a security officer, are we adding to the already filled already filled locations? And if not, could she provide if there are additional locations?
Honorable Minister.
So, Honorable Member, you would appreciate that I also just said through the Mr. Speaker that I already just said that this one deals with the rates as well as increase in personnel. Now, what we have had before was baton security. Now we have armed security for 24 hours in addition to. But again, this is not something that is uncommon to have this kind of increase.
Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipal.
Thank you, sir. Sir, may I ask the Honorable Minister to provide us with the new rate, and if she can kindly tell us what was the old rate, and also if we can know the security form, the name of the security form.
Honorable Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, if I could go back to 2017, we had a jump in security service from something like 403 million to 2019, which we had 530 million, more than 100 million increase in the 2 years. So again, this is not uncommon, but in this particular period, we have the rate at 850 per hour. For armed 1,000 an hour, baton 600 an hour to 850.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member Mr. Mahipol. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Program 133, Regional Development, current expenditures stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, turn to pages 116 and 117. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Program 134, Local Government Development Current Expenditure, stands part of the estimates. The Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipol.
Thank you, Comrade Chairman. Comrade Chairman, line item 6211 from $226,827,000 to $245,799,000,000. Can the Honorable Minister tell this House if they are catering for increases in the salaries of the chairs, vice chairs, REOs, and the other staff members that fall under this program? I know it considers sort of 6.5, but is there additional sums that will be going to them?
Honorable Minister.
The government has already increased by 6.5, sir. So that their increase is included in this amount that is here.
Honorable Member.
Sir, I turn your attention to 6294 from $878,617,000 to $1,342,962,000. May I ask the Honorable Minister how much from this sum is allocated to the recurrent expenditure for the Hague-Borge landfill site?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, just a few seconds. Mr. Speaker, we are committed, of course, as a government to ensuring that we continue to develop our landfill sites as well as those sites that we can ensure garbage collection and removal of garbage. And we have committed 400 million thereabouts for the Hague-Borge.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipol.
Thank you, Comrade Speaker. I'm happy to hear about this increase to 400 million from last year's figure, which was 300 million. Sir, may I ask the Honorable Minister, if in this 400 million, there are measures that are expected to be taken to stop that high stench, which is sadly being inhaled by residents as far as farm on the East Bank and all commuters who would normally use the Heroes Highway. It really has a high stench, and what measures will be taken to ensure that that is removed?
The Honorable Member would be happy to know that we as a government is taking care of all Guyanese, including my honorable colleague, the Honorable Mahipol, who is living at farm and is taking in this stench. We are building more cells at the Hague-Borge as well as operational systems.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipol.
Sir, outside of the Hague-Borge landfill site, can the Honorable Minister say how many other sites are catered for here in terms of a total number?
Honorable Minister.
Honorable Member, you would be happy to know that we are not lazy, that we, from day one, in 2020, we have worked very hard and we are committed again to ensuring that we have waste removal, and so 14 more are on board.
Thank you very much, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Maipol.
Sir, I'm happy to hear the Honorable Minister is not lazy. I know she worked very hard for her promotion, and I wish her well in her endeavor as we will meet again next year to know and to judge that performance. But, sir, notwithstanding that, the Honorable Minister indicated 14 additional sites.
Honorable Minister.
The question.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, sir. Sir, last year we were told that there were 13. And this year, and we were also told last year, sir, that the monies we allocated there, which was 878,613, catered for 6 additional sites. But from her answer just now, there's a clear indication that only 1 additional site was there. May I ask the Honorable Minister to explain perhaps what has caused us to not have the full complement of 6 as was stated last year, and which is the additional one that was added?
Right. So, Honorable Member, what we did was to do an assessment and again ensure that we are in places and locations that are suitable. And so several of the locations were closed, the sites were closed for 4 sites, 4 locations. So that's the answer.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Maipol.
Okay, so, sir, am I hearing that we did open 6 new landfill sites, and from the 13 that we had, we closed from there, and that is why we're at 14?
Honorable Minister.
So, Honorable Member, through Mr. Speaker, again, we have delivered 100% on our manifesto, and so this is another delivery. So, you know, last year we stated 6, and you were correct in what you heard, and so 6 were open, 6 new ones were open.
Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipol.
Sir, I turn to 6321. And my interest here, sir, is to know the salary and benefits of the chairman of the local government commission.
So, Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipol, I, through Mr. Speaker, of course, you know, earlier in the week you said that you would be coming to take the position of local government minister, but I think that you are not aware of some of the information. The local government chair of the local government commission is not paid through the local government ministry, so we don't have that information available.
Honorable Minister, Member, Mr. Mahipol.
Thank you, sir. Sir, so the subsidies, the money that goes to the local government commission is 188,897,000. It caters for every expense of the local government commission except wages and salaries of the personnel that work there in terms of the benefits to the commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Maipol. Honorable Minister.
I am advised that the ministry, may the Honorable Member just repeat his question?
Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipol.
Sir, I am asking, the Honorable Minister indicated that the salary of the local government commission chairman is not paid from this line. And I'm seeing a sum of 188,897,000 as the subsidies and contribution to the local government commission. Is the minister saying that all other expenses for this local government commission is catered for here outside of the salaries and benefits of the commissioners at the local government commission?
Mr. Speaker, just to correct, I don't think the Honorable Member heard me clearly. I said we do not retain the salary of the figure, the sum. Let me break it and put it in another way, or use another word. We don't retain the sum of money for the chairman of the local government commission.
Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipol.
Good day. I feel
Honorable Member, Minister Hamilton. You have to be careful with the shouting. If you need to make a contribution, come to the seat and I will give you the floor.
6281, Security Services.
Go ahead, Honorable Member.
I noticed there's almost from 39 to 96. That's about $40 million increase. Could the Honorable Minister, Mr. Chairman, just explain why that increase?
Honorable Minister.
Again, Mr. Speaker, in relation to the security services, it's the increase of rates. Just as, and this is for the benefit of the honorable member, I don't know if he would, and I'm sure the honorable member would have probably had this information or probably not paid attention to the information. But if you look from 2015 to 2019, you would have had an increase, but then there was a drastic increase from about 2017 to 2018 because of rates. And so pretty much it's the same thing. I keep saying this is not an uncommon situation.
Honorable Minister, thank you.
Increases
Honorable Member, Mr. Ramjitan.
the increases happened from 23 basically to 24. 22 remains roughly the same. In any event, what's the name of the company that provides the service?
Honorable Minister.
The name of the company is Elite Security.
Thank you, Minister.
And there are increased personnel at different locations.
Honorable Member, Mr. Mahi.
Sir, one other question. Sir, the Local Government Commission is, by virtue of our constitution, supposed to be a constitutional agency, but it is treated here as a subvention agency, receiving a subvention from the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development. May I ask the Honorable Minister if there is an intention of the government to make this agency a constitutional agency as prescribed for in the Constitution?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the honorable member would appreciate that this is a policy question indeed, and it is something that my friend is now raising in an estimates. We haven't been dealing with this. We have not looked at this.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member. Honorable members, I now put a question that a sum stated for Program 134, Local Government Development Current Expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Please turn to page 496, honorable members. And I propose a question that the sum stated for Program 131, Policy Development and Administration, Capital Expenditure, stands part of the estimates. The Honorable Member, Mr. Maipod.
Thank you, Comrade Chairman. Comrade Chairman, Project Code 3500-100, Furniture and Equipment. Sir, from October of 2020 to December 2023, this ministry spent $31 million for furniture and equipment. In 2024, I see a proposal for $10 million. So with a decrease in staff complement from 101 in 2021 to 72 in 2024, can the Honorable Minister explain why we continue to see increase in the purchasing of furniture with a steady decrease in staff?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the honorable member would appreciate that when you are in an agency, especially in an institution where you, and this government has been very robust in ensuring that we hold meetings, that we carry out the mandate of the ministry to deliver 100%. And so in doing that, you have to have the necessary refurbishing and rebooting of the ministry.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Maipol.
Sir, would the honorable minister tell us what are the furniture and equipment that will be purchased?
Honorable Minister.
I'm very happy to assist the honorable member with this information. We have 2 desktop printers.
By the
We
line.
have 1 heavy-duty all-purpose printer, a floor printer, the 7 executive chairs, 10 guest chairs, because we do engage with the public a lot, Mr. Speaker. Security cameras, 2 office fridge, 3 laptops, 5 desktop computers, 5 UPS backup batteries, Pro 1500 VA, 1 electronic binding machine, 1 heavy-duty shredder, 1 small kitchen cupboard, 1 radio, 1 voice recorder, 1 microwave, 6 filing cabinets, 1 guillotine, 3 wall paintings, 1 sofa, 3 air conditioning units, 1200 BTU, 1 portable scanner, 1 digital camera, fiberglass ladder 6 inches, 1 small desk, 1 mechanic tool set, 8 to 5 pieces, 2 conference tables with 8 chairs, 4 office desks.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Maipol.
Thank you, sir. Sir, Comrade Speaker, I just got a notification that our Honorable Gail Teixeira is hospitalized. So on behalf of our side, we would like to wish her a speedy recovery, for we need her in this honorable house.
Honorable members, she texted me this morning, said she had little issues with oxygen level last evening, and precaution, she had to get some oxygen, and doctor said she should stay overnight. I think she's okay because she's been up very early this morning.
Happy to hear that.
Thank you for your concern. Go ahead, Honorable Member. Honorable members, I now put the question that the sum stated for Program 131, Policy Development and Administration, Capital Expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it, sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, I now propose the question that the sum stated for Program 133, Regional Development, Capital Expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Honorable Member, Mr. Maipol.
Thank you, sir. Project code 1302200. Sir, my first question here is it caters for community enhancement workers and the national pathway workers. For the benefit of all, the national pathway workers are the 40,000 10-day workers, and we have the community enhancement workers, 2 separate categories. The community enhancement workers, sir, are also paid $40,000, but they work for 16 days. And the national pathway workers are paid for 10 days, $40,000. And I'm very thankful and grateful for these community enhancement workers. They have been doing a fantastic job across the country in cleaning up and so on. Can the Honorable Minister explain why is there a difference in the amount of days that these 2 categories of workers work, even though they fall under the same project code and is paid the same sum of money for their respective services?
Honorable Minister.
Honorable Mr. Speaker, honorable member, I think you are in the wrong program, under the wrong program head. Here we are at program 3 that deals with 133. Yeah.
This program should go, sir. Sir, this could go. Regional development.
Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Program 133, Regional Development Capital Expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Some stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, we turn to program 134, and I propose a question that the sum stated for local government development capital expenditure stands part of the estimates. Honorable member, Mr. Maipol.
Thank you, sir. Sir, the same project code 1302200 and the same question. I don't know if the honorable member wishes for me to repeat the question or she can provide the answer.
Honorable Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the honorable member just lay out on us 2 full paragraphs of a question, so I think he can go again.
Honorable member,
Thank you,
Minister is
Covered
kindly
Chairman.
inviting you to repeat the 2 full paragraphs.
Thank you, Covered Chairman. Covered Chairman, this line item caters for community enhancement workers and national pathway workers. The pathway workers are those 10 days workers that are receiving $40,000 a month. And the community enhancement workers are the ones that are directly attached to the NDCs that are doing a fantastic job at cleaning up the country in terms of their 16 days of work. So, but they are paid $40,000 for their work, 16 days, and the national pathway workers are paid the same $40,000 for 10 days of work. And they're both from the same category, the same line item, doing basically the same type of work, assisting in ensuring that the services that are delivered to the population is done properly and bring some degree of relief to the nation. Can the Honorable Minister explain why is it that the community enhancement workers, which is a program that has been long in existence, working for 16 days, receiving $40,000, and the national pathway workers work for 10 days and also receive $40,000?
Honorable Minister.
Well, first of all, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the honorable member for recognizing the visionary leadership that continue to do their job and do it at their best. Now, there is also a fundamental difference between the pathway workers and the enhancement workers. You don't know, honorable member, but I will fully explain so that you will not leave here without the comprehension of that difference. And the pathway workers, we do require a minimum amount of qualifications from them, which is different from what we require from the enhancement workers. So we are also upskilling these persons further to be able to enter the workforce. And I don't believe that you understand that, so I'm giving you the benefit of an explanation. Thank you very much.
Sir,
Honorable
thank you
member.
very much. Can the Honorable Minister tell this House what is the minimal qualification that differentiates the national pathway worker from the community enhancement worker? Minimum.
Honorable Minister.
Fit possibly of writing CXC, and so they don't have any of those qualifications. The pathway workers, though, are persons who were finished with secondary school and would have attained at least 3 CXC subjects. So we do, and we are going to upscale them. And they're placed in positions such as at the health centers, the schools, and it is for the benefit of the development of the communities within which we all live. So we are looking at 2 different things. But we are also looking, and if you want to go back to that, the enhancement workers have been there. But they did not receive $40,000 several years ago. They are receiving that now.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable member, Mr.
Sir,
Maipol.
thank you. I think I ought to remind my honorable friend, Sonia Parag, who is doing a fantastic job in comparison to what we had before, sir. But the community enhancement worker is a program that was started by the PNC government. We had that during the leadership of President Bornum, and President Hoyt. I know of that from my history, sir. And when we left office in 2015, the coalition government, $35,000 was the amount of money they were receiving, which we moved in 2012, which was at that time $20,000. And now I'm happy to know it's at $40,000. Sir, the community enhancement workers are not just, and I can tell you this from my experience in Region 3, having worked extensively in the local government sector, that they are persons who will like to contribute in terms of weeding and cleaning and so on, and there's no qualification whether you left school or didn't leave school. The National Pathway Workers, sir, I am aware of people who are on that program also that are not persons who have the 3 subject and more or less or whatever, or could matriculate to that extent. So would the Honorable Minister please provide better clarity if she can? I know she is new to the ministry and may need to get some more time to do that at another time, but can she provide some better clarity so that the people of this assembly and the nation can understand why is there a difference in the amount of days the service is offered as the community enhancement worker and national pathway worker, sir?
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Just want to bring to your awareness, when you said you are aware of people, and somebody might challenge you to produce the list so we could verify. Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the simple answer to that, it is 2 different programs.
Honorable members, Honorable Member Mr. Maipal, Honorable Member Mr. Ramjatandi.
How many? Could you indicate, Madam Minister, how many workers are beneficiaries of National Pathway and how many are within the community categories?
Minister?
Yes.
So again, Mr. Speaker and Honorable Member Mr. Ramjatan, through the visionary leadership of His Excellency, as well as the fact that we wanted to be able to create not only a pathway to upskilling young Guyanese and Guyanese, but also afford them the opportunity to earn an income, and this is an additional income in their household. We were able to have 15,890 persons benefit from this program.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member Mr. Mahipal.
Thank you, Comrade Chairman. Comrade Chairman, may I ask the Honorable Minister, what is the mechanism in place to upscale the National Pathway workers?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, did the Honorable Member say upskill or upscale?
Upscale? Scale.
The question is why we want to be able to upscale? We are, of course, going to be able to provide training in different areas for these persons and allow them, like anything in the public sector and the private sector, to give them, and there's a reason why there's this word pathway. It wasn't just plucked out of the air and placed there. It is a pathway for upskilling a young Guyanese person or a Guyanese person to be able to have them reach a level where not only will they be able to earn a higher income, but also be able to develop themselves.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member. Honorable Member Mr. Mahipal.
Thank you, Comrade Chairman. Sir, this same line item has in it this year for consideration for the development and enhancement of our markets across the country. And this year we see charity, study, Leonora, Hydroni, Monrepo, and Kumaka being budgeted for. Would the Honorable Minister be kind enough to provide us with a disaggregation as to the sum that is allocated to each one of these markets?
Honorable Minister.
Honorable Member, through Mr. Speaker, one of the ministry's functions is to ensure that we do have functioning and well-established markets. And it is a feature that is so not only common, but beneficial to the communities, especially like we live in Guyana, that we will work towards rehabilitating. And so, yes, we have placed sums in here for the rehabilitation of the markets. For example, rehabilitation of stalls at Kumaka Market, Mabaruma, we have placed a sum of $50 million.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Maipol.
Sir, I don't know if my friend has to focus more on what I'm saying, but I'm asking for the disaggregation for the charity, Sodi, Leonora, Hydroni, Monrepo, and Kumaka Market. I hear 50 million for Kumaka, but what's wrong with the others?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, there is nothing wrong with the others. As a matter of fact, we're trying to make everything right with the others. And so we are, again, that is why we have invested. The Honorable Minister of Finance has been very generous with us to be able to accomplish the establishment of those hospitals in those communities and to benefit the residents fully from those markets. Sorry.
Sir, I will make one more try with your blessing, sir. What is the figure that is associated with the renovation and development of Charity Market, Sodi Market, Leonora Market, Hydroni Market, and Monrepo Market? We already have from her 50 million for Kumaka. Just tell us the figure for the other markets.
Honorable Minister.
Honorable Speaker, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Member is emphasizing the word figure as if we are doing a bit of figure skating in here. But we have aggregated a sufficient sum for each market to be able to again have those markets properly established and in good condition for the resident.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Maipol.
Sir, guided by you, I will only say beep and move on. Sir, in 2021, Parika Market was there. In 2022, Parika Market was there again. In 2023, Parika Market was there again. This morning, before I came to this honorable house, I took a long drive to the Parika Market. And all that I see there, sir, is the frame with a height that is not to the top. For the walls at the side, inside is basically naked, and clearly the work is not completed at the Parika Market. But we don't see Parika Market reoccurring in the volume 3 of the estimates. Is there any consideration to complete Parika Market in this year's subvention, sir?
Honorable Minister.
Honorable Member, I'm very happy that you went to the Parika Market this morning. It's very sad that you didn't actually get us anything from the Parika Market and share with us here in the Honorable House. Indeed, the Parika Market has a very good frame and structure that is up right now. My colleague and friend, the Honorable Minister Indara, has been visiting that market very regularly, I think more regularly than you, sir. And he has also been engaging with the vendors, and we are more than happy to let the vendors know that we will continue that market.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I must say I put up to Honorable Indar a number of times at the Hydroni market, which is next door, not Parika market. But not nonetheless, sir, since we had it mentioning in 2021, 2022, and 2023, and the minister was kind enough to say that they will have some degree of completion here in 2024. Can the Honorable Minister tell this Honorable House how much money has been spent on the Parika market thus far?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the government has expended monies on the Parika market. That is so. But you know, again, Mr. Speaker, and I want the honorable member to understand very much because I don't think, I think he isolates issues and speak from that angle. And I want to say that from 2015 to 2020, there were 0 markets being rehabilitated or done by the previous administration. And this government is continuing to invest. Not only will we invest in the Parika market, but the Hydroni, the Sodi, the Charity, the Leonora, markets where you have large population that will benefit heavily from these markets.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipos.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, from 2015 to 2020, we did not have $1 trillion budget. And with $1 trillion budget now, we're happy that we are making so much investment. What we want is accountability and transparency in the spending and the answering of the questions so that we will know how much money we're spending on these respective projects. I will try one more time with a different market, sir, not the Parika market, because clearly I can say beep again. But let me move to Monrepo market. Sir, Monrepo market has been mentioned in 2021, 2022, 2023, and here in 2024, again, we have Monrepo market. So we did not get a figure that we're spending for the upgrading and rehabilitation and construction to make more comfortable for our vendors. The sum we're spending at Charity as yet, Sodi, Leonora, Hydroni, as yet. We didn't get those figures. Can I ask for the figure that we have spent on Monrepo so far?
Honorable Member, Monrepo market.
Mr. Speaker, the honorable member would also appreciate that when you're constructing or if you're rehabilitating, it depends on the extent of the rehabilitation that will tell you how much the sum that you have to spend. So again, yes, not all markets will come from an equal sum because the rehabilitation will be determined by how much work has to be done. But we are catering for the Monrepo market. And as a matter of fact, I have visited the Monrepo market on 2 occasions. I have not seen the honorable member, Mr. Mahipol, at that market, but I was there engaging with the vendors, and I am very sure that we will continue. And I will commit this to the honorable member, when that market is fully done and in a beautiful condition, I will take that picture and send it there.
Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipol.
Chair, I buy all my oranges and fruits and so from Monrepo market, and the vendors are very nice people, courteous, and they sometimes give me good discount too. Perhaps the Honorable Minister and I should go a day and see if she will get the same discount as I do. But
you have another market to ask the cost of?
So I go to a lot of markets. I love shopping.
I'm here at this market.
I
was asking if you have another question
with
respect to another market.
Yes,
that you want the cost for.
Yes, I'm coming to another market, sir. Sir, we see, and I must say this in response to as a question formulating in response to the honorable member. So what we're doing is building markets. If you go to Parika, you will see that there's a structure that is going up that was not there. So you're building with frames, you're building with steels and putting over sheds, and you're constructing. The same happened at Monrepo. They're building there's a capital project, a new thing going down. Before you do that, sir, you must have had a design. You must have had an engineering estimate. I'm assuming that this went to through the procurement process in terms of advertising and people bidding, contractors bidding, and they were allocated the work at a sum of money. So I'm going to attempt one more time, Comrade Speaker, with your gracious permission. What is the contracted sum that was allocated to these very markets that I mentioned in 2021, Parika, Charity, and Monrepo? And then we see Parika and Monrepo coming back in 2022, which means the same contractor that got it in in 2021 is a rollover project to 2022. 2023, we see Monrepo and Parika back again, roll over again, but a new market added, Lenora. So there's a new contractor there for Lenora and a contracted sum that was awarded, sir. And this year, we see the addition of Hydroni and Kumaka and Sodi. We got the sum for Kumaka, $50 million. Fantastic, excellent. What is the contracted sum for the other markets that I have mentioned here?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the honorable members, again, recognition of the government's visionary leadership in building these markets and ensuring that our communities benefit and our farmers benefit fully from these markets. And, you know, I did give the Kumaka and I will give the construction of the charity market. It's 191,240,000. So.
Thank you very much, Minister.
I feel we made tremendous progress there because we did get Kumaka at 50 million. And after continuously asking, I did get charity to the extent of 191,204,000. So may I make one more attempt, expecting to get the figure for Sodi, Leonora, and Hydroni market, and also Monrepo, please?
Well, I normally would stop people after the second time, right?
Yeah, but I realized we got the answer just now, so I'm.
But I thought you were bringing a new market, so I heard of all those plus Monrepo. You promised me you were bringing another market to this market. So.
Am I gonna start with
Honorable Minister,
Amstel market?
You've answered. I can't tell you how to answer, but you answered.
Give me figures, Sonia. Figures.
So, Mr. Speaker, I have answered. This question has been put to me 5 times, and I have answered all 5 times, and I have exhausted my answers to this question.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable members, Honorable Member Mr. Maipod.
So beep, 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 and I move on.
Beep, beep, beep.
And I move on to the next project code. Full accountability and transparency. So project code 1902-900. Project development and assistance. I see that the sum here is $1 billion. And what we budgeted last year for was also $1 billion. And then there was a supplementary where we added 300 million. So it became $1,300 million that was spent for project development and assistance. And what it really means, sir, is subvention we give into the 70 neighborhood democratic councils and the 10 municipalities. Last year, sir, these neighborhood democratic councils got $5 million as their subvention, which is the subvention that the coalition left. When we were in office, sir, we raised it from 2 million to 5 million. Sadly, it has not been increased as yet in this $1 trillion budget. And the township of New Amsterdam and the others got $18 million. And I'm not sure what was the sum that was disaggregated for the other township. Can the Honorable Minister say to this Honorable House, what is the figure that will now be given to the NDCs and what is the figure that will be given to the municipalities and what is the figure that will be given to Georgetown, which is normally treated separate from the 9 other municipalities?
Honorable Minister.
Well, again, Mr. Speaker, with this ministry is committed to working with every local democratic organ that it has oversight over. And we want to be able, again, to create development in the communities. And so this year, we want to be able to outfit those NDCs with the amount of $29,440,000 for those, the municipalities. And for the NDCs, we have varying figures. And for Georgetown, we have 49,040,000.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Maipol.
Sir, thank you very much. I have no problem committing a couple of minutes for the Honorable Minister, if she so agrees, to tell us what are those varying figures for the respective NDCs, because I am aware that 5 million was given across the board for the since 2016 to now. And now that I'm hearing their varying figures, can the Honorable Minister tell us what are these varying figures? Which NDC is getting what?
Honorable Minister.
So it is based on, and I think Mr. Speaker, I think the honorable member has a good working knowledge of how this is worked out in terms of the NDC, and it comes with a formula that is dependent upon their submission, etc. So I think that the honorable member would appreciate that. I don't have that formula with me right now, but.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, go ahead.
So the formula is found in the Fiscal Transfers Act. No, I am right, unlike you. Sir, but the Fiscal Transfers Act creates that formula for you to distribute from the sum that you have allocated as the whole number. So if you have allocated $5 million each, the formula requires you to give the first half, and the second half is done through the calculation of knowing the amount of people in the area, the amount of rates and taxes they have collected, and so on. And that will cause you to show how you have disbursed it. So I would like to know what is the whole sum figure for each NDC. Is it still $5 million? Simply yes or no. And if it's no, what is the figure for the respective NDCs? If she prefers to lay it over, I'll accept that also, sir.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I have to start with telling the honorable member that I believe my honorable colleague and friend, Mr. Yandar, is quite a smart, intelligent gentleman and has worked with all of the NDCs and has also worked with all of the NDCs and is committed to ensuring that the Region 3 NDCs will work with us as well. And we have figures, again, allocated to these NDCs. And I think, honorable member, in time to come, you will know how much they have.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member.
So again, I say beep, beep, beep as I move to the next project code. So I move to project code 1904300. Regional Economic Transformation, a sum there of $5 billion. And this is for the provision for community-driven entrepreneurial intervention. So may I ask the Honorable Minister to provide to this Honorable House and nation the criteria that is being used to disburse assistance in the form of handouts, if I may use that word, sir, for this SLED program.
Honorable Minister.
Grants is a better word.
So again, honorable member, through Mr. Speaker, we have had a holistic plan, and it's not just a plan that we've had in our back pockets. We've had a plan that we have executed and implemented to ensure that we empower Guyanese. And this is one of those programs that will empower small business owners. And you have a very competent committee that is set up to do an evaluation on these persons, and those persons will, and depending on that evaluation, persons will benefit.
Honorable member, go ahead.
Thank you, Comrade Chairman. Comrade Chairman, may I ask the Honorable Minister, from the year 2021 to 2023, how many, in terms of number, how many persons benefited from this small business, how many small business owners benefited from this SLED program?
Honorable Minister.
So, honorable member, I do have the figure for 2023, and it's 9,514 persons. Guyanese from all across the 10 regions.
Happy to hear that they're from, thank you, Comrade Chairman. Happy to hear that they're from all across Guyana. Can the Honorable Minister give us a breakdown as for region? This sum of 9,514.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable member, this government continuously has committed to ensuring that equal opportunities are given to all Guyanese, irrespective of their geographic location, irrespective of their ethnicity, irrespective of their religious background. And all programs and policies are rolled out in very much that manner. So Region 1 benefited from 405 persons in 2023. Region 2, 605, Region 3, 697, Region 4, 194. 615 in 5, 1,023, 101 in Region 7, 470, Region 8, Region 9, 1,404. So you have quite a number there, quite a number.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipal.
So is the Honorable Minister prepared to lay over the same information for the other years, which he unfortunately doesn't have with her, 2021 and 2022?
Mr. Speaker, the 2023 pretty much follows the 2021 and 2022 is pretty much the same thing. And I have laid it out for the public to understand how exactly this program is run and how it's benefited from in terms of the numbers and from the regions. And I will not be laying over.
Honorable Minister, thank you. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipal.
Thank you, Comrade Chairman, and I thank the Honorable Minister for transparency and accountability for accounting to the public for the public funds. And I would say beep again and move to the other project code here, 3600-300, Solid Waste Disposal Program. And this is for the provision for solid waste management intervention. And I know that it will, perhaps I can be guided by the Honorable Minister. It is to cater for some upgrading of these landfill sites that we have, including the Hague-Borge landfill site. Can the Honorable Minister provide us with some information reference to what exactly will be happening at these landfill sites with the $1.230 billion?
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
So some will be closed, Honorable Member, through Mr. Speaker, and some will be upgraded.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipal.
That's all. Some will be closed and some will be upgraded. Sorry, the legend of this budget tells us provision for studies and surveys. And we know what we're doing studies and surveys for, provision for regional landfill sites and waste management equipment. Can we at least know what kind of equipment we will be purchasing, and upgrade of facilities at the Hague-Borge sanitary landfill site? Can we at least know what will the upgrading be?
Honorable Minister.
It studies on the geotechnical and the hydrogeological surveys to be done, and also for operational and maintenance purposes. That the figure is that we have the consideration of that figure.
Honorable Member.
I don't know if my friend is burning out now, sir, but I remind her she has the entire day here with us. There is also here the equipment, the waste management equipment. What kind of equipment we're talking about? And the upgrade of the facilities at Hague-Borge landfill site. What upgrade we're talking about?
Honorable Minister.
So, as you know, again, we are committed to ensuring that these sites are fully functional, and those that are not, that are closed. So we have under the waste management equipment, we will be getting 1 portable tire shredder, 2 stationary compactor bins for markets, 2 water and air quality testing equipment for landfills, skip bins and skip lift trucks, 1 truck and 25 skips, 211-liter bins.
Thank you very much, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipal.
Thank you, Comrade Chairman. Comrade Chairman, I thank the Honorable Minister and the competent staff at the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, it's a good time to put the question that the sum stated for Program 134, Local Government Development Capital Expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, I know we had a late start and we have a long way to go. So let's take the suspension now, even our kids were a bit hungry, so we allow them to leave. Thank Minister and the staff of Regional Development for taking us through the start. We'll be back here in 1 hour at 12:45. And let us express our appreciation to Mr. Nankumar, GM, and his staff for getting us started today.
Over, we ain't backing down. We ain't giving up no mountains. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Make no mistake, 'cause we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one rice, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo. Take time on night.
Tonight, the extraordinary moment on Capitol Hill. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg apologizing to families after being told he has blood on his hands. Zuckerberg testifying alongside several other tech CEOs, standing and turning to the parents in the audience saying, "I'm sorry." Many parents holding pictures of children they say were harmed by social media. One mother who lost her son speaking to us. But will social platforms get any safer? Also tonight, the U.S. preparing to strike back at Iran-linked targets in retaliation for the drone strike that killed 3 soldiers. Why the response could last for weeks and who the U.S. now says was responsible. The FBI director warning Chinese hackers are preparing to wreak havoc on the U.S., the major targets they could strike. The shocking crime, a man arrested for allegedly killing his father, then posting a gruesome YouTube video. Dramatic body cam shown in court the moment police arrested the parents of a Michigan school shooter. The major storm fueled by an atmospheric river slamming the West Coast. When the worst will storm ashore. The pipeline inferno, flames shoot 500 feet into the air.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Today, a reckoning for social media in this country over harm suffered by some of the youngest and most vulnerable users, children, and why proposed online safety measures have stalled. The CEOs of 5 popular social media platforms appearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee today, where they faced angry lawmakers, were told they have blood on their hands, and were met by a gallery that included child safety advocates and distraught parents, many carrying large photos of children they say were killed or affected in part by social media platforms, including victims of online sexual exploitation. In one terse exchange, Meta's Mark Zuckerberg prodded to face the families and apologize, and did just that. Our Kate Snow was there.
The CEOs of Discord, Snap, TikTok, X, and Meta met by a sea of parents holding photos of children they say were victimized on the social media companies' platforms.
Mr. Zuckerberg, you and the companies before us, I know you don't mean it to be so, but you have blood on your hands. You have a product. You have a product that's killing people.
The topic today, sexual predators targeting young people through social media and the blackmailing of teens tricked into sharing explicit photos. Mary Rohde says it happened to her son Riley, who then took his own life.
Riley died on March 30th, 2021, when he was a victim of sexploitation on Facebook's Messenger app.
You're on national television. Would you like now to apologize to the victims who have been harmed by your product? Show them the pictures.
In a dramatic moment during questioning from Republican Senator Josh Hawley, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg stood to address the parents packing today's hearing.
I'm sorry for everything that you're no one's got to go through the things that your families have suffered. And this is why we invested so much and are going to continue doing extreme efforts to make sure that no one has to go through the types of things that your families have had to suffer.
When he stood up, he said, "I'm sorry for your pain," but I don't really think he's sorry for my pain.
The tech CEOs today choosing to keep their remarks to their testimony, not stopping for any questions about the surge in child sexual abuse material online.
Who did you think he was?
He said he lived about 10 minutes away. He was my age, like 14, 15, just a regular boy.
Ellen, whose last name we agreed to withhold, was 14 years old when she says she started communicating on Snapchat with a person she thought was a teen.
I'd never had attention from a boy before that, so this is all new area for me.
She says she sent innocent photos of herself, and the boy soon began sending her sexually explicit pictures.
Naked photos?
Yes.
More than once?
Correct. But his face was never in it.
Her mom, Carrie, had no clue.
She's sitting right next to me on our couch, probably talking to him.
And you didn't know?
I had no idea.
What was your first clue that something was wrong?
When Homeland Security came to my work, it turns out that a man outside of our state has been talking to my daughter and had a plane ticket with her name, and he's ready to come get her.
To take her away?
To take her away.
According to a Department of Homeland Security spokesperson, that man who had been messaging Ellen had been communicating with other minors on social media. He has since pleaded guilty to child pornography charges. Ellen is now thriving and in college, but the ordeal devastated her and led to thoughts of suicide.
I didn't see a purpose in life anymore. I just thought my life was over after that.
At today's hearing, Snap's CEO was apologetic over how the platform he helped create has been misused.
Words cannot begin to express the profound sorrow I feel that a service we designed to bring people happiness and joy has been abused to cause harm.
Snap says it does not have reports about Ellen's specific case, but called it illegal and against our policies, adding, "We work diligently to prevent predators from misusing and abusing Snapchat." On the Hill today, senators pushing for a number of bills to address children's safety on social media.
What difference will today really make?
This was a unique hearing. I think there's a major change because of those families, real people behind them, and because of the fact that the members are focusing a lot of their wrath, yes, on the companies, but on why are you opposing these bills?
So, Kate, let's talk about those bills. What are these senators trying to pass, and where does the legislation stand right now?
Lester, there are at least half a dozen proposed bills ranging from requiring social media platforms to do more to protect kids, creating a new criminal offense for distributing sexual imagery, and even ensuring that these companies can be held liable in a civil court. Tonight, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer tells NBC News this issue will be a legislative priority. Lester.
Kate Snow starting us off from Capitol Hill. Thank you. 3 days after the killing of 3 American soldiers in that drone attack, the scope of U.S. retaliation against targets connected to Iran is coming into sharper focus. Keir Simmons now with late details.
Tonight, new details on the expected American retaliation for a deadly drone attack on U.S. troops, for which President Biden holds Iran responsible. U.S. officials describing a campaign that could last for weeks, expected to include Iranian targets outside of Iran. Telling NBC News the targets have not been finalized, but to expect strikes on multiple places in several countries and locations, including cyber operations.
When you're talking about what we're anticipating here, which won't just be a one-off. As I said, the first thing you see will not be the last thing.
Today, the White House saying an umbrella group of Iranian-backed militias called the Islamic Resistance in Iraq carried out Sunday's attack on the remote outpost in Jordan. 3 American soldiers were killed. And tonight, video of President Biden calling the parents of specialist Kennedy Sanders.
We're promoting her posthumously to sergeant.
Oh, wow. That is the best news I've heard today. Thank you so much. You don't know how much that means to us.
But there are questions tonight. U.S. strikes in recent months retaliating for attacks by Iranian-backed groups, including a faction of the Islamic Resistance in Iraq, did not deter them. And the current delay in a U.S. response is giving the militias time to prepare. A senior Iraqi official tells NBC News many Iranian-supported factions have been evacuating bases. Meanwhile, tonight, one militia with ties to Iran, Kataib Hezbollah, announcing it's suspending attacks against U.S. bases. But a government advisor here says Iran and its proxies likely hope to push President Biden to stand down and cannot be trusted.
They're still maneuvering. They are still collecting intelligence. They're still planning additional strikes on U.S. targets.
And Keir joining us now. Keir, there's also news the U.S. launched another preemptive strike against the Iranian-backed Houthi militia.
That's right, Lester. It happened this afternoon. The U.S. saying it targeted another Houthi missile about to be launched because the Houthis have continued to terrorize commercial shipping in the Red Sea. Lester, it only underscores the immense challenge of deterring these Iranian-backed groups. Lester?
All right, Keir, thank you. And an alarming warning today from the FBI director who says China is preparing to wreak havoc on American communities by hacking electrical grids, gas pipelines, transportation systems, and more in the event of war. Ken Delaney now with that story.
Tonight, the FBI director sounding the alarm about Chinese efforts to attack American power grids, transportation systems, and communications networks.
China's hackers are positioning on American infrastructure in preparation to wreak havoc and cause real-world harm to American citizens and communities.
And Christopher Wray announcing a major takedown of a Chinese hacking operation on American soil, dubbed Volt Typhoon.
Working with our partners, the FBI ran a court-authorized on-network operation to shut down Volt Typhoon and the access it enabled. Steps China was taking, in other words, to find and prepare to destroy or degrade the civilian critical infrastructure that keeps us safe and prosperous.
Ray and other officials say China poses the world's greatest cyber threat, and they warn that Americans remain vulnerable. U.S. Cybersecurity Chief Jen Easterly describing the devastating impact of a potential massive Chinese cyber attack.
Telecommunications going down so people can't use their cell phone. People start getting sick from polluted water. Trains get derailed. Air traffic control system, port control systems are malfunctioning. This is truly an everything, everywhere, all at once scenario.
Easterly said China believes that sort of cyber attack would crush any American will to defend Taiwan from a Chinese invasion. In a statement to NBC News, a Chinese government spokesman denied China hacks into foreign networks, calling it irresponsible criticism.
And Ken, you're also following a disturbing story about the death of a federal worker in Pennsylvania. What can you tell us?
An absolutely horrific case, Lester. A man is accused of killing his own father, who was a longtime federal government employee. His body was found decapitated. Police say the suspect then posted a 14-minute video rant denouncing President Biden and threatening to kill federal workers. He's being held without bail on a murder charge. Lester.
All right, Ken Delaney, and thanks. In a Michigan courtroom, jurors saw a dramatic police video of the arrest of Jennifer Crumley and her husband in a Detroit warehouse, days after their son shot and killed 4 students at his high school. Maggie Vespa is following this for us. Maggie, good evening.
Lester, good evening. Prosecutors are expected to rest tomorrow in Jennifer Crumley's involuntary manslaughter trial. And today they showed body camera video of Detroit police storming that warehouse where an officer testified Crumley and her husband James hid out with more than $6,000 in cash in the days after their son Ethan committed a mass shooting at Oxford High School. Jurors today also heard from a high school classmate of Jennifer Crumley who said the two had an affair and that the morning of the shooting, she texted she was worried her son, quote, was going to do something dumb. The defense arguing Crumley had no clue how much her son was struggling and that the school could have done more to help him. Lester.
Maggie Vespa, thank you. Tonight, Northern California is bracing for a major storm, another Pineapple Express blowing in from the Pacific with tens of millions under flood and wind alerts tonight. Liz Kreutz is there for us. Liz, this storm is really bearing down.
Yeah, Lester, it is. Here in the Bay Area, it's been raining all day, and the worst of this storm is still to come overnight. More than 20 million Californians are under flood watches, and we've already seen wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour. That has led to this massive tree to topple onto a home, trapping a young girl inside. It's also led to concerns of landslides and flooding. Now, by the morning, the storm is supposed to make its way south to Los Angeles and San Diego, which is still recovering from that historic flooding last week. And Lester, it is not letting up. A second, more powerful atmospheric river is expected to hit on Sunday. Lester.
Liz Kreutz, thank you. In 60 seconds, escaping the war in Gaza. Our inside look at the harrowing journey to safety and medical help for wounded children. Right after this. Back now with a harrowing story of survival. Children wounded in Gaza on a desperate journey to get the medical help they so badly need. Hala Garani with our report tonight from Egypt.
A hydraulic lift hoists little Zahra onto a plane. Mama, the little girl cries out, but it's not her mother's hand that reaches out for comfort. It's her aunt's, traveling with her on an evacuation flight from Egypt to the United Arab Emirates. Inside the plane, Zahra and some 50 other critically ill Palestinians from Gaza. Zahra's legs were crushed in an airstrike. Mama, the girl cries again, but her mother is not there, her aunt says, so Mama is what she calls her now. Zahra, too shy or traumatized to speak. On this Emirati Mercy mission, the 11th of its kind, there are children with fractures, complex head injuries, some with cancer. There was little access to care or medicine in Gaza. Here, children finally get pain relief. Dirty bandages are replaced with fresh dressings. 12-year-old Noor will receive much-needed surgery on her legs. Acting quickly means preventing amputations. Do you want to go back to Gaza or stay out afterward, I ask her. Stay out, she tells me. The journey to this improvised Emirati flying hospital started at the Gaza border, a 45-minute drive away from this military airfield in Egypt. On our way there, miles of trucks carrying aid, unable to deliver their cargo. This is the border into Gaza from Egypt. Patients are driven here on Palestinian Red Crescent vehicles. There's a list. Not every name is approved. So some of the most critically ill might make it all the way to this point and then be denied entry into Egypt. But these children at the military airport have made it out. A boy already used to life in a wheelchair whizzes past our camera. On board, the smiles of children excited for their first ever flight and the empty looks of those perhaps still adjusting to their new reality. When we reach Abu Dhabi, the last few patients are lowered onto the tarmac, while those able to walk board a bus to the terminal, out of harm's way, at least for now. Hala Garani, NBC News, at the Al Arish Air Base in Egypt.
And after a break, the spectacular fire after a gas pipeline explodes. What went wrong? And the new report on kids and learning after the pandemic. Are they finally catching up in math and reading? Some dramatic video out of Oklahoma. Fire officials saying a gas pipeline exploded, sending massive pillar of flames shooting 500 feet into the air, visible for miles. No injuries have been reported. The cause of the explosion is under investigation. We turn now to our series, Kids Under Pressure. After America's students suffered major learning loss during the COVID pandemic, a new study finds they are recovering, but the impact could be long-lasting. Here's Blaine Alexander.
It was a troubling trademark of the pandemic, students learning through computer screens with growing concern over just how much they would be set back. Tonight, in the first of its kind study, experts are now examining just how quickly students are recovering, looking at test scores across 30 states for 3rd through 8th graders, comparing scores from 2019 to 2022 with those from 2023. They found while many students have made gains, they are still far behind pre-pandemic scores. In math, which took the hardest hit, students have made up about 1/3 of that regression, and in reading, 25%.
It suggests we're on our way to a full recovery. We're certainly not there yet, but I think we've made up a lot more ground in 1 year than many people would have predicted, certainly more than we've ever made historically in 1 year.
But the numbers also show the education gap between wealthy and low-income districts only widened with the pandemic.
My worry is that the educational legacy of the pandemic will be a kind of persistent widened inequality.
Making matters worse, experts say, a $122 billion federal relief package to help fund programs like tutoring and summer school is set to end in September.
How critical is that money when it comes to your recovery?
It was paramount.
Dr. Mark Sullivan is superintendent of Birmingham City Schools, where math test scores have almost completely returned to pre-pandemic levels. He credits more school hours and staff support with making the difference. But when that money goes away,
we really have to be strategic in only keeping those programs that we can afford that really move the needle on student achievement.
Schools making significant strides with a long way to go. Blaine Alexander, NBC News.
That's nightly news for this Wednesday. Thank you for watching, everyone. I'm Lester Holt. Please take care of yourself and each other. Good night. Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
We are coming on the air tonight with what could be a watershed moment for social media. Anger, emotion, blame aimed at tech CEOs from senators today and from parents who point the finger at some of these social media companies for playing a part in their children's suicides. The stunning moment, Meta's CEO turned around and apologized directly to them, coming up in just a second. plus what we're learning about a disturbing and gruesome murder posted on YouTube for everybody to see, while a Pennsylvania man talked about right-wing conspiracy theories. The suspect, allegedly behind it all, now in police custody. Plus, concerns about crime in Oakland is prompting one big company to offer its employees security escorts to and from their cars. They're not the only ones making changes. What it signals about the situation in the Bay Area. Then, Disney telling NBC News tonight it is going to keep fighting even after a federal judge drew out its lawsuit against Governor Ron DeSantis for alleged retaliation over the state's so-called Don't Say Gay law. We've got those late developments live in just a minute. Plus, right-wing media and allies of former President Trump burning red over Taylor Swift. We're going to debunk some of the wildest conspiracies about Swift that's causing all of this. Yes, bad blood. We said it. That's later on in the show. Hey there, I'm Hallie, and tonight, what could be a critical moment on Capitol Hill with major tech CEOs lining up to answer to senators who say they failed to protect children. We're talking about blistering questions, hot criticism, not just from lawmakers, but these CEOs also forced to confront some of these parents dressed in black, holding photos of their dead children. They say social media contributed to their kids' suicides, leading to a moment that we have never seen play out like this before at the Capitol. The head of Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, literally turning around to apologize to them. Watch this.
Victim, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. There's families of victims here today. Have you apologized to the victims? Would you like to do so now? Well, they're here. You're on national television. Would you like now to apologize to the victims who have been harmed by your product? Show them the pictures. Would you like to apologize for what you've done to these good people?
I'm sorry for everything that you have all gone through. It's terrible. No one should have to go through the things that your families have suffered.
We are going to show you more of that in just a second, with the committee's chair saying this is the biggest audience he's ever seen at a hearing in his more than 2 decades on this committee. The tension, I mean, you could feel it in the room, with one senator laying out what he sees as what's on the line very clearly. Listen.
Mr. Zuckerberg, you and the companies before us, I know you don't mean it to be so, but you have blood on your hands. You have a product. You have a product that's killing people.
You see Mark Zuckerberg there. It wasn't just him, right? It was Zuckerberg, but also top executives from X, TikTok, Snap, Discord, all of them appearing, some after having been served subpoenas personally from U.S. Marshals to come to the Capitol, blocks from where we're standing, and show up today. You've heard us talk about it here on this show, report after report showing just how bad social media can be for the mental health of teenagers, and how sexually abusive material targeting kids can thrive on some of these platforms. The reality is that these tech companies are protected under law, something called Section 230, which shields these companies from responsibility for what's posted on their platforms by other people. That was a big focus today. What laws, if any, could Congress realistically pass to try to hold these companies more accountable and, importantly, make these platforms a safer place? I want to bring in Ryan Nobles on Capitol Hill, because that issue, safety, that is one thing that everybody, no matter where they were sitting in that room, on the dais or across from it, agreed on. And you saw some of these execs today kind of offering, in some ways, olive branches on what they could do to support some of these potential laws or not, all with some incredibly fiery moments. What stood out to you?
I think the thing that stood out to me above all, Hallie, was kind of the uniform bipartisan condemnation of the way the tech industry has handled this particular issue of child safety. You know, normally when you have hearings like this, you know, one side may be more inclined to defend the witnesses that are appearing before them, while the other side feels more inclined to attack. That wasn't the case today. You saw both Republicans and Democrats being very critical of the way the tech industry has handled it. And they also, to a certain extent, acknowledged how Congress has been unable to do very much to solve this problem. Listen to what Senator Amy Klobuchar had to say.
It's been 20 really clear about that. So what you say matters. Your words matter.
And Senator Klobuchar is correct about that. The tech companies have wielded incredible influence over these platforms and the way that they are regulated, and they've stood in the way of a lot of this legislation that lawmakers have proposed over the years. But there are 5 bills in particular I want to point to, Hallie, that are currently making their way through the Senate in particular. Some have to do with increasing accountability for transparency on online platforms. There's one that removes the tax blankets immunity from civil and criminal liability. That was a huge topic here today, giving people the ability to sue if they feel that they've been victimized by something that happened on an online platform. The SHIELD Act gives federal prosecutors the appropriate and effective tools to deal with this. There's also the Childhood Safety Act, which modernizes the prosecution of online child exploitation crimes. And then there's the Kids Online Safety Act, which also creates a layer of liability. It's important to point out, these are all proposed pieces of legislation. None of them are anywhere near being passed. So while there's a lot of blame being laid at the feet of these tech titans, it's also important to point out that Congress has a responsibility here, and Congress has failed to act.
And let's be, to sort of put a pin on that point, Ryan, then we'll get to some of those dramatic moments here. We put together, this is not Mark Zuckerberg's first rodeo, getting hauled in front of a committee on Capitol Hill. Same thing for the head of TikTok. We actually created a graphic to show the other times that they've showed up here. This is not new. Senator Blackburn, for example, Senator Blumenthal, they've held other hearings on some of these concerns from social media companies. You see it here. They've done this before, which gets to this question of, who is the onus actually on to try to keep kids safe? And this goes back to what we talked about at the top of this segment, Ryan, at the top of the show, safety being the paramount thing here. How do you make sure that kids, teenagers can use these platforms and be okay doing it? That was the subject of some of these really dramatic moments that we saw. Let me play some of that.
If you're waiting on these guys to solve the problem, we're going to die waiting.
It appears that you're trying to be the premier sex trafficking
Of course
site
not, Senator.
in this
Senator,
country.
that's ridiculous.
No, it
Senator,
is not ridiculous.
Have you ever been a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
No, Senator. Again, I'm Singaporean.
Senator, my understanding is that we don't allow sexually explicit content on the service for people of any age. How is that going?
I mean, it was like that for hours, Ryan, right in this room. Give us a sense of some of the color in the room, especially when it comes to some of the facts at hand, because unlike perhaps some other issues that Congress might look at, there's a fair amount of research. There's a fair amount of a body of evidence here done by independent experts that look specifically at these issues as it relates to kids and social media.
Yeah, and there's a lot of evidence out there that there is a very negative impact on young people that are using these social media platforms, particularly in those middle teen years that has been demonstrated over time. And I want to point you to this study that the Washington Post reported on as it relates specifically to Meta. And it says that Meta reported by far the largest number of CSAM files on its platform in 2022, the most recent year for which company-specific data is available, with more than 21 million reports on Facebook alone. Google reported 2.1 million, Snapchat 550,000, TikTok 290,000, and Discord 170,000. Twitter, which of course is now an X, reported just under 100,000. This is a massive amount of data, a massive amount of evidence that demonstrates the problem here. And then when you get back to your earlier question, who's responsible here? Well, there's no doubt that the social media companies have at least somewhat of an ability to self-regulate themselves, but it seems pretty clear that they're not going to take the dramatic action necessary unless the Congress and unless law enforcement gets to that place where they can regulate them. And it's been done in other places. Europe has already started the process of really starting to rein in the ability for kids to be on these social media platforms and have access to some of this material. It's time now that you're starting to see here in the United States, at least some sort of momentum towards getting something done soon.
It's a great point. Ryan Nobles, thank you so much. We're glad you're there for us on, again, what could be a critical moment here for these companies, or it could not be. Thanks. Let's take you overseas now, because U.S. officials are saying today that essentially umbrella group of Iran-backed militias planned and facilitated the drone attack that killed 3 American service members in Jordan this weekend. Listen.
It certainly has the earmarks of the kinds of things that Kataib Hezbollah does. As the president said, we're going to respond, and we'll respond in an appropriate way.
Okay, again, these questions. What does that response look like? Well, we are learning some new details tonight about what that response could be, with U.S. officials describing it to NBC News as a campaign their word, a campaign, which is an indication that it's not going to be a one-off thing. It could last potentially for weeks. At the same time, one of the militant groups the U.S. says could be behind that attack, you just heard John Kirby reference it there, Kataib Hezbollah, says it's suspending attacks on U.S. forces, a decision they say is aimed at preventing the embarrassment of the Iraqi government. With all of this happening, you've got the Secretary of State headed back to the region in the next few days, according to a senior U.S. official. Keir Simmons has been following every minute of this. He is joining us now. So let's get to this question of options. A quote-unquote campaign indicating a series of events. We don't know what that events would look like. Do we know anything about at least the preps for a response? Talk us through it.
Well, the president actually has quite limited options, honestly, Hallie. It's clear, I think, from what the White House has been saying in the past 24 hours that he has not decided to hit inside Iran. No US president has made that decision since the Iranian Revolution in 1979, and for a reason, which is that if you do that, you risk that the Iranians will feel forced to truly respond in order to show that America shouldn't do it again. And Israel, for example, here in Iraq, I think we will likely see some strikes, but Iraq, strangely, is both a partner of Iran and the US. So the danger is that if you go too strong here in Iraq, you push Iraq towards Iran and encourage Iraqi lawmakers to demand the pushing out of US forces here. So I think the focus will likely be on Syria. I suspect we'll see more on Yemen. But Yemen is a good example of where the challenges are too, because of course we saw those strikes on the Houthis. That wasn't a one-off. And now we've seen, I think, 8, maybe more now, since that started, and still the Houthis still keep firing on those ships in the Red Sea. So I think trying to figure out how to get these Iranian-backed militia in this region to stop attacking U.S. bases and stop the kind of attack that saw 3 U.S. service members killed over the weekend. How you do that is a real challenge. At the same time, of course, the president will feel that he has to do something. So yeah, a campaign over a sustained period, waves of strikes, I think is what we would expect, and not just kinetic, they're saying, but also cyber.
Keir Simmons live for us there in Iraq. Here, we're glad to have you there. Thank you very much. Right now, more than 20 million people over on the West Coast are under flood watches, bracing for 2 huge storms with the potential to bring total chaos, ton of rain, ton of snow. A lot of potential for flooding here, with some spots set to get as much as 5 inches of rain. This storm's coming in, another one right on its heels. Kathy Park is in Half Moon Bay up in Northern California. A gorgeous spot, Kathy, but the rain is coming down already. This is only going to intensify over the course of the next few days, right?
Hallie, that's absolutely right. What you're seeing right now is just a sampling of what's to come, because conditions are expected to worsen in the next couple of hours, specifically right around the evening commute. We're anticipating heavier bands of rain. Right behind me is the bay right now. You can probably see the waves, pretty ferocious, just crashing over the rocks. This is something that we've been seeing throughout the day today. But believe it or not, Hallie, some extreme athletes, kiteboarders to be exact, they said that these conditions were just optimal for getting that extra lift in the sky. But of course, California officials are urging residents, telling them to be on alert, because this weather can be extremely dangerous. And over the next couple of hours into tomorrow morning, we're anticipating several inches of rain that could lead to flash flooding. And of course, the other big headline that we've been tracking are these wind gusts, extreme wind gusts, anywhere between 40 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts have been clocked all over Northern California today. And that's expected to progress over the next few hours into the overnight hours. So officials have been prepping, just getting ahead of this storm, putting sandbags on levees. They're cleaning up drains as well, just to make sure that all that is cleared up, to make sure that flooding isn't an issue. But they're also telling residents to use this time now, while there is a little bit of a pause before things really start to pick up, to charge your phones, download those emergency alert apps so that you are ready if things do get bad. Hallie?
Kathy Park live for us there in Half Moon Bay. I'm sure we'll be checking back in with you in the days to come, Kathy. Thank you. House Republicans are promising to hold what they're calling a long overdue vote to try to impeach the Homeland Security Secretary, with the House Speaker devoting his very first speech on the House floor to criticizing how both Alejandro Mayorkas and President Joe Biden are approaching immigration. Watch.
But it's crystal clear his policy choices and Secretary Mayorkas' refusal to comply with the law are driving this border catastrophe.
The party line vote late into the night overnight advances the first impeachment charges against a cabinet secretary since Alexander Graham Bell's first telephone call nearly 150 years ago. We haven't seen this in more than a century and a half. David Noriega is joining us now live from Eagle Pass, Texas, which, David, has really become the nexus, the flashpoint for this fight happening currently over the border with this so-called Take Back Our Border convoy apparently headed your way. What's going on?
Yeah, Hallie, Eagle Pass is not only a flashpoint, it's also become, the border has always been a stage for political theater on both sides of the spectrum, and especially right now. And right now, Eagle Pass is the main stage. That's a part of why this convoy is ostensibly headed this way. Here's what we know. This is a group of self-described patriots, Trump supporters, right-wing activist types. A lot of them are religious, what sort of experts who look at organizations like these describe as Christian nationalists. They're operating under the name Take Our Border Back. Some of them refer to themselves as God's Army. The plan, as they described it, was to sort of convoy during the course of this week and then meet at 3 different points on the border. Near here in Eagle Pass, in Mesa, Arizona, and in San Ysidro, California, which is basically San Diego. Now, I should say that some of the videos we're seeing and some of the reporting we're seeing is that the numbers are not particularly big, at least as of now. They're certainly not anywhere near the 700,000 or so that organizers claimed they would reach. That said, there's still a few days for potentially this convoy to gather strength. And one thing I will say is that being here in Eagle Pass, we've already met several people who've been trickling in over the last couple of days in advance of this convoy. I met a guy last night who drove 20 hours from Colorado to be here in Eagle Pass, in place when this convoy arrives. I also met an older couple yesterday who drove more than 5 hours from Houston. They were actually here they thought the convoy was already happening, and they were a little bit surprised to find that they were some of the first people here. So that, I think, tells you a little bit about how sort of organized this is. All that said, Hallie, even if this specific convoy, the specific sort of political action turns out to be, a bit of a dud, the conditions are very much present. The tension is very much present for one of these things to be sort of a tinderbox, and all you need is a match to light it. Hallie?
David Noriega live for us there in Texas. David, thank you. Tonight, some new details on a stunning and gruesome story we've been following. But the Pennsylvania man arrested after allegedly decapitating his father and displaying his head on YouTube while putting out there some right-wing conspiracy theories. We are obviously not going to show you all the disturbing moments from the video, just a bit you can see here. Later on, this man is seen wearing gloves and holding his dad's head in a plastic bag. The head is then seen in a cooking pot. In the video, the son says his father, Michael Moen, was a federal worker for 20 years and calls him a traitor, even as he called for the death of all federal officials. Tom Winter has been all over the story. He's joining us now. Very upsetting details, obviously, incredibly troubling to no one more so than this family now dealing with the aftermath of this. What else do we know?
Well, that's absolutely right, Hallie. I mean, this is a tragedy because, in fact, it was Justin Moen's mother, according to court documents, who was the person who came home to find him and the family vehicle missing and her husband dead in obviously this incredibly gruesome way. We know that police found a machete and a large knife next to the torso of the body of his father, Michael Moen. We know the 3 charges. You're looking at them there on the screen: first-degree murder, abuse of a corpse, and possessing an instrument of crime with intent, referring to the weapons that were used in this. He is not going to get bail because of the first-degree murder count makes him not bail eligible. You're looking here at the video, and basically detectives say they looked at the video, matched it to the crime scene and what they personally witnessed, and quickly put 2 and 2 together, and that's how they arrived with the arrest here, Hallie.
So then what about the piece of this, the possibility that this attack may have been politically motivated based on what was being said in this video? Right.
So the video, and detectives here point out that he had a pre-written script, and it's clear if you watch the video, and I certainly don't recommend it, and it's been taken down from YouTube, but it's clear that he's reading from something. And this goes beyond, I mean, he certainly has a number of anti-Biden statements in there, has some, I would say, pretty extreme and fringe right-wing beliefs. It goes beyond that. He calls calls for the killing of all federal employees and for the federal officials. He puts a bounty out for certain very prominent members of the law enforcement community. He put out the address of a judge who who dismissed one of 4 legal cases against him, and then had a number of hate speech comments, and you're looking at it there, against the Black Lives Matter movement, the LGBTQ community, spoke out against Antifa. So when you look at this in its totality, this goes beyond just kind of a hard right or a hard left type of speech. This goes into hate speech and those extreme conspiracies that you referenced, Hallie.
Tom Winter, thank you very much for that update. Appreciate it. So listen to business news now, because some big news out of the Fed today. Not what they did, but what they said, because they did what everybody thought they'd do. They didn't touch interest rates, right? Didn't go up, didn't go down, they're staying the same. But here's what the Fed chair said, that cuts probably will not happen at the Fed's next meeting in March either. That was kind of a surprise to some folks. And if you were hoping that interest rates would go down, well, not exactly what you wanted to hear. Brian Chung is following all of this for us tonight. And Brian, so listen, we expected, right, the interest rates to stay flat. We expected no change to that. Interesting to hear Jay Powell, the Fed chair, one of the most obviously powerful and influential people in the economy here in this country, talk about the outlook as it relates to inflation. The concern, right, is if they start to bring those interest rates back down, inflation might start to creep back up. On the other hand, if they don't start to cut interest rates, you could see issues with the broader economic picture, including unemployment, right? This is the fine line they're trying to walk.
Yeah, well, it's a real tightrope, and this is kind of funny about this news item is that we come on every 6 weeks and it's like, what's the news? Well, the news is that they didn't do anything, but it's notable
but that's
because
still news.
It still is news. Well, the reason why is because, you know, if they did raise interest rates or cut interest rates, that would tell you something about where they see the economy. And at least for right now, they're saying, look, inflation is coming down. We haven't seen job losses really increase, although we have seen layoffs in some sectors, but in the aggregate, not enough to really signal that the Fed needs to change its policy at the moment. Now, what's really interesting is that the Federal Reserve was expected to start cutting interest rates later on this year. It wasn't going to happen in this meeting. It was a 95% chance going into this meeting that they would hold interest rates. But some commentary from the Federal Reserve chairman, in the absence of any other news, was expected to, okay, well, could that point to their next meeting in March? And the Fed chairman saying, it's unlikely to happen in March as well. That's the reason why markets traded down. But again, we'll have to see how the data come in to see whether or not the Fed does see the economy in a place to cut interest rates, perhaps later on in the spring.
Still, though, if you look back 2 years ago, a year ago, do you think we would be talking about what we're talking about today, right? I mean, with some of these dire predictions of the potential for a recession, everything else, what's interesting is as the numbers in many ways have started to get better, inflation is cooling off. As you point out, we could see rate cuts on the horizon eventually. The unemployment numbers are down. People seem to not be feeling that. There's a new poll out today, and if you get into the crosstabs, it shows more than half of Americans say that their own personal financial situation was better under the Trump administration years ago. And this is consistent when you ask a series of economic questions there. Is this a perception issue? Is this a messaging issue? Is this a people aren't feeling the impact in their day-to-day budget issue? What is it?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I think we also have to acknowledge that the transition from the Trump into the Biden administration also coincided with the massive shock that was the pandemic and the weirdness of the year following the pandemic, where people were trying to catch up on things and experiences that they couldn't do, which led to the inflationary episode that we saw that really peaked in 2022. So perception and timing wise, look, there's always going to be certain administrations claiming credit or putting blame on others. But when it comes to the overall macro story, we have to celebrate the fact that this Federal Reserve, which, by the way, is independent, doesn't answer directly to the president, even though they're appointed by the president, was able to steer us out of what everyone thought was going to be a 2023, where people were forecasting a recession. Didn't happen. The unemployment rate didn't rise during the time that the Federal Reserve was brake checking into what was going to be slower inflation, which did happen, again, without the rise in unemployment that some, including the Federal Reserve itself, had feared. The question is whether or not that just kicks the can for that potential layoff wave to come in 2024. Again, we're starting to see it in media. We're starting to see it in tech, but whether or not it envelops other types of industries is very much the open question for 2024. But for right now, we'll take what we can get, Hallie.
Brian Chung, thank you so much. Good to see you.